Okay, let's just run a quick simulation. You spend an entire week, I mean a full week, grinding on a gaming video.
Right.
You capture all the footage, you edit the highlights, you're obsessing over every single word of commentary, you upload it. And by some miracle, the algorithm loves you. It hits 1 million views.
Which is massive. I mean, that's a career moment for most creators.
It's huge. You're popping the champagne, but then the check clears, and it's for like $3,000. Which, look, isn't bad for a week's work. But now take that exact same energy, same hours, same effort, but instead of gaming, you make a video about personal finance. 1 million views. The check is $20,000.
That's the revenue gap. And honestly, that's the entire reason we're digging into this today. It basically turns content creation from like an art project into an arbitrage opportunity.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are unpacking a really fascinating and maybe a little controversial guide from early 2026 by a guy named Max Ann. It's titled The $20,000 Faceless Strategy.
A bold title.
Very bold. The whole premise is building a finance video empire with nothing but free AI tools. But the key constraint is no camera, no microphone, and absolutely no showing your face.
Which is, I mean, that's the holy grail for introverts,
Yeah.
right? Or anyone who just wants a side hustle that doesn't require being on all the time. But what really caught my eye isn't just the tools, it's the philosophy behind it. And treats YouTube less like a creative outlet and more like a math problem.
It is extremely industrial. So today we're going to walk through the economics of why this one niche pays so ridiculously well, this concept of retention engineering for scripts, which I think is the real secret here.
Yeah.
And the specific tech stack. We're talking ElevenLabs, Gemini, Grok, all the big ones.
But we also have to talk about the cost. Because as we dug into this, it became really clear that free tools does not mean free time. There is a brutal reality check waiting at the end of this whole roadmap.
Let's start with the money, though. Section 2 of the guide is called Why Finance Videos Print Money. We kind of touched on the $3,000 versus $20,000 difference. Can you break that down for us? Why is the gap so huge? 1 million views is 1 million views, isn't it?
You'd think so, but to an advertiser, those views are they're radically different commodities. It all comes down to RPM revenue per mil.
Which is just industry speak for what you get paid for 1,000 views.
Exactly. It's the price of attention. Think about the gaming audience. It's broad, it's younger, a lot of kids, students, people with limited disposable income. Advertisers know this. They're not going to bid high for that inventory. So they'll pay maybe $3 to get in front of 1,000 of those eyeballs.
That makes perfect sense. Low purchasing power, low bid.
Now flip that. Who's watching videos on how to invest or the Millionaire Mindset?
People with money or people who want money?
Right. So the advertisers bidding for that slot are banks, trading platforms, fintech companies. Their customers have a high lifetime value, so they are more than willing to pay a premium to get those customers. We're talking $12, maybe even up to $22 RPM.
So purely from a business standpoint, a finance viewer is worth what? 4 to 6 times more than a gaming viewer?
Correct. It's high-value real estate online. But, and this is the huge catch the guide points out right away, traditional finance content is incredibly boring.
I was going to say, I don't think anyone wants to sit through a 15-minute lecture on the, technical mechanics of compound interest.
And that's what creates the content gap. The old way is a lecture. It's a guy in a suit with a whiteboard. The viral strategy, the one Max Ann outlines, is all about wrapping those high-value keywords in storytelling.
This is the part I found really interesting. We think of finance as this cold, logical field. Spreadsheets, percentages. But this guide suggests you have to lean almost entirely into emotion to succeed. Why does that emotional angle matter so much if you're just chasing ad rates?
Because the ad rate only matters if people actually watch the video. High RPM is useless if your retention is 0%. You have to use those rags to riches narratives, stories about mindset shifts, the psychology of success. You basically have to trick the viewer's brain into enjoying a finance lesson.
So probing question for you. You hook them with the heart and you cash out with the keywords.
That is the model, 100%. Emotion drives the view, the keywords drive the check.
Okay, let's get into the execution then. The how. The guide has a complete toolkit and a strategy it calls pattern recognition. Walk us through the tech stack first. Is this stuff really free?
For 2026, it is surprisingly accessible on free tiers if you know how to game them a little. You've got ChatGPT for scripting and research, ElevenLabs for the voiceover, which is totally non-negotiable for quality, then Gemini for making consistent images, Grok, Imagine to turn those images into short videos.
And then a basic editor like CapCut or Filmora.
Yep, all free to start.
Okay, so the tools are there, but the guide is pretty stern about not just jumping in and making whatever you feel like. It calls this pattern recognition.
Yeah, and this is where most beginners just completely crash and burn. They wake up and think, I have a great idea. I'm going to make a video about how to save money on latte art.
Which sounds like a perfectly reasonable, helpful video.
But in this model, it's a total waste of time because you're guessing. The strategy here is all about reverse engineering. You go to YouTube, you search financial freedom or passive income, then you sort by most popular, and you just study the top 3 videos in the last 6 months.
So you aren't inventing, you're analyzing.
Precisely. You look at the titles. What emotions are they hitting on? Is it fear? The crash is coming. Is it greed? How I made 10 grand in a week. You take those winning concepts and you bring them right over to ChatGPT.
And the guide mentions a specific prompt strategy here. You don't just ask for ideas.
No, absolutely not. Generic prompts get generic results. You feed ChatGPT the viral titles you actually found. You say, analyze these, now generate 20 new ideas that appeal to a U.S. audience, include specific numbers in the title, and follow this emotional style. You're basically telling the AI, here's the winning formula, give me 20 variations of it.
I have to play devil's advocate for a second. Is this just plagiarism with extra steps?
It's a fair question. I'd argue it's market research. You're not copying the script word for word, you're copying the structure of the demand. If thousands of people are clicking on the 5 rules of money, you make a video about the 7 money rules of the rich. You're building on a proven foundation instead of, just hoping for the best.
Right, you're mitigating your risk. So, probing question. Is it fair to say this is less about creativity and more about fitting a market signal?
Exactly. It's letting the market tell you what it wants before you do any of the work.
Okay, so you have your topic. Now you need the actual script. Section 5 is called retention engineering. I love that term. It sounds so industrial.
It is industrial. It's about manufacturing attention. The guide is very clear about this. The modern attention span is, it's fragile. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. To keep it, you need what it calls pattern interrupts.
Define that for us.
A pattern interrupt is basically a reset button for the brain. If a video stays the same tone, same visuals, same pace for too long, the brain just tunes out. The guide says every 90 seconds, something has to change. You drop a controversial statement, you ask a rhetorical question, you throw in a surprising stat.
It's like gently shaking the viewer when they start to doze off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it starts from the very first second. The guide has a super strict rule for the first 5 seconds. No greetings.
But that's the classic YouTuber opening. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel.
And in this niche, it's a retention killer. Nobody cares who you are yet. If you start with a bold statement or even a lie, for example. Most people will never be rich because they believe one dangerous lie.
Okay, I'm listening. I want to know what the lie is.
That's the point. Then, from second 6 to 30, you give them the promise. You say, in the next 10 minutes, you'll learn exactly how to fix that. You hook them, you promise a solution, and then you can start the actual video.
Reading through this, I had a bit of a vulnerable moment myself. The guide mentions you still have to read the AI draft out loud. I think I've definitely been guilty of just trusting the AI output too much.
Oh, we all have, for sure. It's called prompt drift or just laziness. You get lazy, you paste the script into the voice generator, and your video ends up sounding like a robot reading a dictionary. You have to humanize it. You have to hear where a real person would breathe. The AI gets you maybe 80% of the way there, but that last 20%, that's on you.
So, probing question. The biggest mistake beginners make in the first 10 seconds is just being too polite.
Yes. Politeness is for the outro. The intro is for the hook. Period.
Let's talk visuals. Since this is a faceless channel, you aren't on screen. But you also can't just use random stock footage. The guide has this workflow using a consistent character it calls Max.
Yeah, this is where it gets really technical, but also really cool. The biggest problem with AI image generation is consistency. You generate a character for scene 1, let's say an expert in a suit, he looks great. You ask for him again in scene 2, looking at a chart, and suddenly he has a beard. Or his tie is different.
It kills the immersion instantly.
It destroys your authority. If your expert keeps shape-shifting, the viewer just subconsciously checks out. So the solution in the guide is to create a base character, we'll call him Max. But you use a very specific prompt.
Yeah.
Simple 2D, hand-drawn, flat pastel colors, plain t-shirt.
But why simple? Why not aim for, photorealism?
Because simple lines are way easier for the AI to replicate consistently. A complex human face has too many variables. Pores, lighting, individual hairs, a doodle of a guy in a green shirt. The AI can draw that 1,000 times and it'll look the same every time.
And there's a specific trick mentioned, the reference image hack.
Right, so you generate that one perfect base image of Max. Then you upload it back into a new Gemini chat, and you tell the AI, this is Max. Use him for future reference. Now, every time you ask for a scene Max at a desk, Max looking stressed, it uses that original image as its source data. You're basically training your own personal animator.
That is incredibly clever, but static images are still boring for YouTube.
Which brings us to Grok. And this, for me, was the real moment of wonder. You take that static doodle of Max, you put it into Grok Imagine, and you just add subtle motion. We're not talking about making an action movie. You're just making him blink, or making his chest kind of rise and fall like he's breathing.
Just enough movement to trick the eye.
Yeah, it turns a JPEG into a video clip in just a few seconds. And it triggers that part of the brain that says, hey, this is high production value, even though it's just a processed doodle.
So, probing question. We use simple doodles instead of photorealism because consistency trumps detail.
100%. A consistent cartoon is trustworthy. A morphing human is just creepy.
Okay, we have the script, we have the visuals. Now sound. We mentioned ElevenLabs. Why that tool specifically? There are tons of AI voice generators out there.
It's currently the gold standard for natural intonation. But the guide has a big warning about the settings. If you just leave it on default, it can sound, well, uncanny. You know that weird, hollow AI sound?
Oh, yeah. I know it well.
The guide recommends setting stability to around 50 or 60%. If it's too high, the voice is monotonic, too perfect, too low, and it gets all crackly and weirdly emotional. 50% seems to be that sweet spot where it sounds like a confident person just talking to you.
And there's a little trick in here for the free tier, too, because those ElevenLabs credits run out fast.
The Gmail Plus trick. This is like the resourcefulness 101. If your email is name@gmail.com, you can sign up for a new ElevenLabs account using name+1@gmail.com.
And that actually works.
Yeah. ElevenLabs sees it as a new user, but Gmail ignores the plus sign and everything after it, so the verification email still lands in your main inbox. You can do name+2, name+3, basically infinite trials.
That is very sneaky. I like it.
It's all about hacking the system to keep your overhead at zero.
Now, editing. The guide lists a few specific rules. B-roll changes every 5 seconds, music at 30%. But one rule seems totally non-negotiable. The 8-minute mark.
The holy grail of duration.
Why is 8 minutes so critical? Why not 7? Why not 10?
Mid-roll ads. This is purely a business decision. If your video is 7 minutes and 59 seconds long, YouTube only lets you place ads at the beginning and the end. If it's 8 minutes and 1 second, you can place ads in the middle of the video.
So you literally double your potential ad inventory.
Exactly. If you're at 7:30, you drag that intro out a little, you speak slower, you add a longer outro, you do whatever you have to do to cross that 8-minute line, or you are leaving money on the table.
So, probing question. The 8-minute mark isn't an artistic choice. It's a revenue multiplier.
It is the difference between a hobby and a business.
So we've built the video, now we have to upload it. And this is where the strategy shifts from creation to targeting. You can't just upload and pray.
No, you're just shouting into a void unless you tell the algorithm exactly who this video is for. And remember, we want that high RPM. That means we want viewers in the USA, the UK, Canada, and Australia.
How do you even force that? You can't really control who clicks on your video.
You can signal it, though. Use American spelling. Realized with a Z, not an S. Reference US dollars, not euros. Use New York in your examples, not, say, London. And, crucially, upload when they're actually awake. The guide says 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
You're tailoring the metadata to fit the audience profile you want to sell to advertisers.
100%.
But then comes the hard part, Section 11, the reality check. And I really appreciate that the guide includes this because up until this point, it all sounds a bit like a magic money printer. Just use AI and get rich. Yeah.
It does. It sounds way too easy. And this is where most people will fail. The reality is the grind. The guide states it clearly. This takes 8 to 11 hours of work per video.
Wow. Let's just pause on that. 11 hours for a 10-minute video.
I mean, think about it. Researching the viral topics, prompting ChatGPT, rewriting the script so it isn't robotic, generating maybe 50 different images of Max, animating them in Grok, editing it all together, captioning. It is a full day of work.
And the kicker.
The kicker is that for your first 5 videos, you're going to be posting to a ghost town.
The ghost town phase.
You might get 100 views, maybe 50. And that's normal. The algorithm has no idea who you are yet. It's testing you. It needs data.
So you're working an 11-hour day for potentially $0 in return at first.
For 90 days.
Yeah.
That is the commitment the guide asks for. 2 videos a week for 90 days. That's what, 24 videos? That is the valley of death you have to cross before the algorithm trusts you enough to start pushing your content to millions of people.
It's a test of pure endurance. So, probing question. What actually separates the winners from the losers in this model? Is it the quality of the AI art, the cleverness of the script?
I don't think so. I really think it's psychological. It's about dealing with the math of that 90-day grind without quitting. The losers quit at video number 7 because they worked 80 hours and only got 200 views. The winners know that video number 20 is where the compounding really starts. It's just pure stubborn persistence.
We're going to take a very short break. When we come back, we will recap the big idea and give you one final thought to take with you.
And we are back. So we have unpacked this $20,000 faceless strategy. We've looked at the high RPM of the finance niche, the retention engineering of the scripts, the AI tools you need to build consistent characters, and the grueling reality of the work involved.
It's a lot, but it's also a complete ecosystem when you look at it.
If you had to distill this all down, what is the one big idea you think people should walk away with? That this isn't just about making videos. If you think of it that way, you'll probably fail. This is an exercise in retention engineering and algorithm training. You're engineering a piece of media to hold a person's attention, and you're training a machine YouTube to recognize you as a source of high-value inventory. It's a numbers game. High RPM niche plus consistent AI characters plus 90 days of volume. That equals what the guide calls the unfair advantage.
It really reminds me of that quote at the very end of the guide. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now.
Exactly. The tech is basically free. The information is all out there. The only variable left is whether you can commit to those 90 days.
So don't just bookmark the strategy. If you're going to do it, you have to commit to the grind. We'll put a full list of all the tools we mentioned in the show notes for you. ElevenLabs, Gemini, Grok, all of them.
Wow, good luck with the pattern recognition.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We will see you in the next one.